Brownie guides was my favourite part of the school week, and my feet still couldn't quite reach the floor when I sat on the edge of my bed.
Part 1. Occupation. Chifu, Shantung Province, China. 1941 to 1943. The guide law. A guide is loyal. This does not mean that she thinks her friends and family and school are perfect, far from it. But there is a way of standing up for what is dear to you, even though you admit that it has its faults.
Chapter 1. Nancy. China Inland Mission School, Chifu, December 1941. "We've been contacted by your parents, Nancy," Miss Kent announced, arms folded across her rose-pink cardigan as she stood beside the window. "I'm afraid you won't be spending the Christmas holidays with them after all." Her words seemed to echo off the wood-panelled walls of the principal's office, a small, suffocating room that smelled of linseed oil and bad news, so that I heard them again and again. "You won't be spending the Christmas holidays with them after all." I wanted to cover my ears. I didn't want it to be true. I stood in the middle of an oriental rug, the pattern worn away by years of children coming and going to receive bad news, or the sharp end of the principal's tongue. I looked up at my teacher, and couldn't think of one word to say. "Your mother sent a letter each for you and Edward," Miss Kent continued. She held out an envelope, addressed to me in my mother's elegant handwriting. I stared numbly at it. "Well," she prompted, "it won't read itself." Reluctantly, I took the envelope, opened it, and removed the letter. The scent of English lavender bloomed around me as I read the awful words. "I'm so desperately sorry to disappoint you again, Nonny, but your father insists it's too dangerous for us to travel, with the Chinese and Japanese armies still fighting. Besides, the roads are in a desperate state after the recent landslides. You should have seen the rain. I'm sure you'll have wonderful fun with your friends. I can't wait to see you, darling. How you must have grown." I imagined Mummy at her writing desk, the sun on her face, her pen poised in mid-air as she composed the next sentence. I imagined her more often than I saw her. Since starting my first term at the school 2 years earlier, my parents' missionary work had taken them from the China Inland Mission compound at the international settlement in Shanghai all the way to Qinghai province on the other side of the country. Hard winters, landslides, and the Sino-Japanese War had, in turns, prevented them from travelling back to Chifu, back to me. Seeing my eyes fill with tears, Miss Kent offered an encouraging, "Come along now. Chin up." She studied me through her round wire spectacles. The grey eyes that peered at me, often so serious, carried a hint of an apology, as if she somehow felt it were her fault that I would spend another Christmas away from my parents. "Better to be safe than sorry," she concluded. "And think about all the displaced Chinese children and refugees who are benefiting from your parents' missionary work." She smiled a thin little smile. "And at least Dorothy and Joan, or should I say Sprout and Mouse, are staying too, so that's something, isn't it?" She hadn't used my friends' nicknames before. I suppose she did it to make me feel better. I held the sheet of writing paper to my nose. "It smells of her," I whispered. "Of lavender. Her favourite." I tucked the letter into my pinafore pocket and wiped a tear from my cheek. "She likes the smell of sweet peas, too. And roses. She doesn't care for lily of the valley, though. It makes her sneeze." My mother had become a collection of such memories, scraps and fragments I rummaged through. "I really did want to see her, miss. Ever so much." I pushed my hands into my pockets. "It isn't fair." I hadn't meant to say the words out loud. Self-pity was not a trait to be admired, and homesickness was considered sentimental nonsense. We were often reminded how disappointed our